All right, guys, it is Friday, August 11th, little bit after the market closed, about 30 minutes after the bell. Let's go ahead and take a look at the price action for the markets this week. Starting with the NASDAQ, the NQ, NASDAQ futures, and we do see we've had a pretty sizable down week, closing well below this fib level at 15,420. Interesting price action if we look at the daily. Right, we see an attempt to kind of make it back above and then closing below, trying to kind of test that level again and closing below again both times. We had called last week, I believe it was, that either of these levels, these are actually 4-hour levels, down here at 15,200 and 15,000 even, could act as support for a retracement higher. But we don't seem to have found support yet, although it is possible today that we could have seen this 15,037 low be the reversal, but we could still see it get down to 15,000 even and actually potentially reverse from there, so keep that in mind. We'll just have to see some more price action going forward. Just taking a quick little side note to kind of look at this price action on the 4-hour, we can see that this fib level that we were just referencing has played a significant role as support and resistance, right? So we see it kind of really struggling to stay above, finally breaking below, and then it acting as resistance for lower. So that does tell you, confirmed what we already thought, that that is an important level to watch. So we will need to see that be broken through as resistance going forward. But other than that, we just need to see a little bit more price action from the NASDAQ. Right now, it just needs to find some support, and we'll have to see if this 15,000 level held up as such. Price, do you have anything to add to that analysis?
Just that we kind of expected to be down here the last week, looking at finding more support lower to go higher, and that's really it. That's that green line is the next one. Below that it's the box. So
yeah, looks spooky if that doesn't hold. But I do want to just add one thing I forgot to mention there is if that level at 15,000 still holds, that still looks good technically speaking as a higher low for this trend, right? You know, after we broke above this level last time and tested up here at 16,000, that's our higher high, and all it's doing now is trying to find a higher low to fuel the next higher high. So people are like quick to act. I've seen a lot of headlines right now. Oh, you know, this is the reversal. You know, tech's overvalued, all that stuff. Not yet. Doesn't look too bad yet. It's been a 900-point drop from the high, just about, but still could easily see higher off of that. So we'll just have to see what happens next week. Let's go ahead and look at the S&P futures, ES1. This one, price action does look very similar, right? We see it trying to kind of make a way off of, or bounce off of this support here at 4,500 even, breaking down below, and as of today, actually, and yesterday and the day before, closing below, unable to make it back above, and today even touching that level exactly and retracing lower. Although a lot of today's losses were kind of bought up by the end, it's still closing below that level. So it could hold up here, but more likely it's going to come down a little bit further to make a new support level. You can see this level right here at 4,440 specifically kind of had some price action in the past that kind of produced this leg up. So that could be an interesting level to watch. Anywhere in that range from 4,440 to 4,420 could be a potentially decent long, but the problem there is that we do have this key level below that, 4,380 around there. That is kind of the last level to hold before it starts to look like this gap back here from June would be very likely to fill. If this level breaks, I'm just going to call it right now, we're going to see this gap fill. So keep an eye on that. If you're going to take a trade in that range between 4,440 and 4,420, like I just called out, you want to keep a tight stop. You don't want to be risking a big position there. This is just trying to capture that if it reverses there, but we could easily see lower. You have any other analysis there?
Nope, we both agreed on the 4,440 to 4,420 area there.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that before.
Cool. We think it's kind of textbook for that.
It does look textbook. If it bounced there, it would still look like a higher low, and it could definitely pick up enough liquidity there to fuel that next leg higher. So either way, this is another one we kind of have to see what happens next week to get a better picture. But let's go ahead and move on to the RTY, the Russell 2000 small caps. These look a little bit more interesting, and kind of used the word textbook a few times today, but this is actually textbook, right? So we see it having kind of moved back above again of this key level that we've had here and been talking about for a long time at 1980, and now it's gone back down below that. You're like, okay, it's happening again. It's failing to break out above that level, and it's going back down. But you can actually see, if we look today, and yesterday as well, on the daily, it's actually touched this key level here at 1920.24 and popped back up. It's gotten bought up every time. So this is potentially a pretty solid area to go long and hold that for the break to 2100 up here. And the reason that that is such a great level is that we can see that in the past this level was respected as resistance, and that is the level that broke to produce this new high. So that's the next level that we look to buy support, right? So it would still look constructive for higher if this actually holds up as support and retraces back up. Personally, I think this is a great area to get in. I think I might be personally taking some trades here, but I haven't actually looked at the structure of where I would place my stop and all that, so I'll have to check that out, but it looks like a great place to take a trade. I still think that this is going to probably hit 2100 in the short term here, and then that would be fuel for all-time high. I think, Price, you feel pretty similarly on that as well. We tend to agree on most of these charts anyway.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so if we saw it closing up above 2100 on the weekly, that's exactly what we'd like to see because of all this support it held while it was produced in, that is all-time high, right? Yeah,
yep,
I believe
that's
so.
all-time high.
And then it tried to hold one last time before it failed the level. So this is the big resistance, and if we see weekly, monthly closes up here, that's what we want to see to, more all-time high.
Yeah, and those are big consolidation ranges. And just, we kind of did this before, but we'll show everyone why we're thinking that is, if we look out here on the monthly chart, we can see that this area down here, these support levels, they were what broke above to produce that high, and now if you look on the monthly, it just looks like all we've done is found a higher low. So it just looks like more fuel for the next either leg higher toward all-time high or producing another all-time high. That's why we've been so long-term bullish on small caps here.
Right. There's nothing recession-y looking about this. It's just doing normal stuff, coming back and finding support on previous all-time high and going on its way.
Exactly. Perfect. Let's go ahead and move on to the Dow. Let's get off the monthly chart for this one. So, obviously we'd had a new high on this leg, right? If I go to the weekly, we see the kind of approaching all-time high, but we're not there yet. We kind of are testing the last resistance zone before we actually make a new all-time high, retrace to all-time high, potentially make a new all-time high. And it's just pulling back and kind of doing a lot of similar price action, right? Just trying to find resistance. There's this key level that actually before price marked as being an interesting level to look at. That was respected as support a few times, broke below. It's kind of been flirting around this level, closing above, closing below, but we just see a lot of indecision here. To be clear, if we look at the resistance and support levels, this could still look bullish again, all the way down here at 34,700, and we'd want to see that kind of potentially produce another leg up, or a retest of this high or breaking to all-time highs. That idea could also still be intact as far as 34,400, but seeing as how this was the level that broke to produce that leg up, this is the kind of the level we really want to pay most attention to at 34,700. That being the last area that broke, turns that area from resistance into support. So keep a lookout on those levels. You have anything to add, Price?
You nailed it. That's the level we're looking at. If it doesn't hold right where it is here now, 35,000. Let's see, what is that? Those lows, 35,000 basically.
Yeah, 35,100-ish or a little bit. It's kind of a big range, so a lot of numbers. 35,000, big swings, but definitely tradable. think that's pretty much it for the Dow. Just need to see kind of more price action from that. Let's go ahead and move on to gold. If you want to, why don't you go ahead and... I think your analysis of gold's price action is better than mine, so why don't you take that one?
Well, so last week, this is where we were. We just gapped up on Friday. Or actually, that's 2 weeks ago. I apologize. But so this week, last week it was right here, and it was printing above this level that we'd seen. But what we've actually seen occur is this level. It gapped up, and now it's coming down to the support that it had and found when it produced this low after rejecting this level. And it's doing this because of these candles up above the level that was rejected. So that's why we really do expect to see higher, this being a higher low, because that's really all it's done so far, and continue up, making higher highs. We do expect higher from here. If you're looking at gold, honestly, smacking a market order right now doesn't look too bad. Make sure you've got a stop loss, but this is textbook where you want to be placing a trade.
Yeah, it looks really good because of this, like you mentioned, this consolidation range at 1942-ish in that area, respected as support here, broke below, acted as resistance, and then now it's acting as support again. So we know that's the major level to pay attention to. And if the trend is to stay intact, this has to kind of act as support. So that's why we have strong conviction in this level as potentially great long. And the fact that, like you said, it's closing here right now, it's close enough to this level. It's only that's 3 points away from our exact level. That's, traders, we don't like market orders that much, but you could be forgiven for doing that at this point. It's close enough. You could take a great trade opportunity here. And just kind of finagle your stop wherever you want, a little bit below that level based on your risk tolerance. But this still looks really, really good for higher to me as well. Let's go ahead and move on to CL1 oil futures. This one has been more interesting than probably anything else recently. Obviously, everyone knows oil's been moving up recently. The thing to pay attention to is that the last kind of consolidation for a year and a half, the high there had been around 83. And we've kind of pushed above it and kept, we've closed below, but we keep, there's strength in this move. If we just look at right here, you can see like the actual price action itself, around 82 even. There's a lot of, testing at this area specifically on the daily chart. And we can see that back here last time it tried to push above, 81.76, close enough to 82. Right, that was the level that it tried to push above and failed to come back down again. Now, the fact that that is holding up now tells you that that's got a little bit more strength to the move. And we've tested this 80 level as support very recently. It could still come back down to that level and take up some liquidity there and fuel another higher move. But at this point, we believe, unless you tell me otherwise, Bryce, I think we both believe that oil is going to be going to $94. That's our next key resistance level on the chart. It looks like it's consolidated down here, found enough liquidity and support to kind of fuel that next leg back, move oil higher. You agree with that?
Yeah, it could take a quick break around 88, but I do expect here on the weekly and monthly chart, I do expect it to look more or less straight to 94-ish.
Yeah,
and when we do,
I see what you mean about 88 there, just looking at the chart right now. But on the weekly, I think it just looks cleaner. Like we've seen on the weekly, this range has been, either moving like directly up or kind of flirting within these ranges between 80 and 94. So that's the only reason I say that I think it's going to look pretty clean up to $93.50, $94 on oil. But either way, I think we both think oil's going higher. Now the dollar. It's a little bit more interesting based on our previous calls. We had some really valid price rejections based on the levels that price had drawn last week. They were, I believe, 4-hour levels. And for the most part, it definitely respected those. Every time it tried to push above, it failed to do so. And it looked like it could be a reversal here. But just today, we saw it finally break out above those levels. and close a bit higher. Now, the key level on the daily to look at above that area is 102.95 or 102.96, something like that, right? We are so close to that it's almost guaranteed that we're going to see price make it to this, if not higher. This would still look like a potential area of reversal anywhere in here up until closing above this 103.6, 103.7-ish, something like that. This is kind of the key level that I'm looking at personally, just because on the weekly this has been a major level where price has interacted with over a very long period of time. This is about a year's worth of price action where this level has been significant. So I believe that if there is going to be a reversal back to the downside with the dollar, it is very likely to occur at 103.6, if not before that. But that's my level where I'm really paying attention to the dollar. I think that it might come back down. And my personal belief is that if it came back down, it could go either back to 99.6 or, more likely, 98.5. So that's a big move on the dollar, but we'll just have to see some more price action to determine if that's going to play out that way or not, or if it's going to break through this 103.6 and move higher. What do you think about that price?
Basically the same thing. On the daily here, we can see that level at just below 103 as a significant one. That'll confirm the daily trend, but how far that gets on the monthly chart is the question. And just like you showed, that weekly level is definitely the main one, because that's where all these people who have made money shorting are going to be looking to re-short or not. And so
it's a major liquidity level, and I think that the reason that what was that? Did I have a 99-ish there? 99.6? That's where a lot of them took their short profits, right? So they're looking to, if the dollar's going to go down, they're looking to re-enter their shorts, and the level where that makes the most sense to do is at that key weekly level, 103.6. That's why it's so significant, right? That'll be the next liquidity pool for the big money to grab with their shorts, to take a big position and actually make the next leg down bigger and pay off their shorts again. So that's why that's such a key level. Cool. But again, another one we're going to have to kind of just see what happens. Let's go ahead and look at the banking sector. KRE. News came out this week. A bunch of downgrades for U.S. banks and all that stuff. U.S. debt got downgraded. People thought it was going to spook the banks. They look fine. We've been talking about how this level at 45 needs to hold, and it still looks bullish if that holds. And we're not even close. We're like 3 points above that, a little bit under that. So people are really talking about a lot of this FUD with the banks. I don't see it. They look good to me. I still think we're going to go to 56 on the KRE banking sector.
Yeah, it hasn't even lost the daily.
Right.
We didn't look at the 4 hour on this one, but 46.50. That's the low here that produced that high, and it hasn't even gotten down to it. So nothing to worry about here on the daily. If you've got it long, hold it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I actually really wish it would come back down to 45 because I want to get in on this trade. But there are positions to get in higher than that. I just, for my personal risk tolerance, I want to see it go back to 45 before I take a position. But the banks look good. I still, unless some big catalyst throws us out of whack, the price action looks really good for higher. I like banks right now. Cool. Well, unless we have anything else to add, that is it. Thanks ahead for tuning into the Trader Hub market review. If you like this kind of content, sub to the Hub and consider joining our Trader Hub Discord community server. You can find it using our link in the description. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.